Yo, welcome back lads to another seminar. So today I'm going to be going through progressive overload, okay? And even if you already have a decent idea about this, you'll have a much better idea about it by the end of this video, okay? So I'm going to go through a few different things, and remember, just before I get into the main points, that if you're not progressively overloading on a weekly basis, ultimately your muscles have no reason to grow if they're not being provided that stimulus, okay, consistently, which is massively important to get the physique you're looking for. So number one, rep ranges. When given a rep range, let's say 8 to 12 for example, this does not mean to just religiously adhere to these reps, right? During every set, you shouldn't just think, oh, I get to 12 and that's it. If you can get more, then do. But as I said here below, if you do get more, that's a clear sign to go heavier. Or even if you reach that 12, it's a clear sign that weight can be increased. You might not get as many reps with the heavier weight, quite unlikely in fact. However, that's a good scenario to do so, okay? As long as technique and tempo were both okay. And this goes both ways. If you generally cannot reach 8 reps and you get 6 or 7, this is still productive. Okay, a lot of people will think, oh, it's only 5, 6 reps. That's still a progressive set if you're, for example, going up in weight. Okay, so yes, drop down for the second set if fatigue is really high, but next week still aim to do that first set with the same heavy weight and hopefully, you know, reach a higher rep count, even if it's an extra rep the next week. Considering how heavy it is, that's still really good progress. Okay, the 2-set method. If you are normally doing 3 sets for an exercise, there's nothing wrong the following week to just do 2 sets, but that's as long as the weight or the reps are being increased. So it's a method I use in my own training guys a lot, because it's massively beneficial to just manage the load and the fatigue and not be, you know, for example, too tired from the 2 sets, because you're decreasing volume but increasing intensity and progressive overload. Okay, for example, you do 50 kg on a lat pull down one week for 3 sets of 10, 10, 9. Next week, why not try 55 kilos for 2 sets of 7 or 52.5, where you can put the small plate on the pin, which I'll get to in a minute. But yeah, that's a prime example of something that people would avoid because they might think 7 reps is, you know, too little, or, you know, that increases too much and you won't get there. But at the end of the day, guys, even if it was 5 or 7 and it was only 1 set and not 2 sets, and then you drop back down to 50 for the second set, that is still providing a stimulus. Okay, that's what I want you to think about in your next, you know, training week. Where can I actually provide that stimulus? Okay, this is progressive overload. Less sets, yes, but that also means we're managing fatigue, as I said, a bit better. The following week you can return to 3 sets, okay, and then you rinse and repeat. Okay, so not easy, but it is simple. So small plates, as I mentioned a minute ago, ultimately we're all in this for the long term, you know, in terms of results. Rushing your progression can be counterproductive in most cases, in pretty much every case, okay, but adding an increment, as I say here, of 1.25 to 2.5 kg is still progress. I emphasize that because some people will still be disheartened. I see a lot of people be like, oh, it's only this, it's only that. That's still progress. You should technically be thinking, guys, in terms of long-term results, how little can I progress this week for it to be, you know, an increment on last week, and continue that over the course of 52 weeks in a year. You're going to make massive strides. Okay, without these small additions, you won't reach the bigger weights. Patience is key. That's one of the biggest things in terms of the gym that people don't really think about, especially when they're getting into it initially, is delayed gratification. Because if you lean into this process of you kind of making those sustainable improvements, that's going to teach you delayed gratification and patience, which literally carries over into so many other realms of your life. Okay, it's one of the best things, honestly, of the gym in itself, because that's what it teaches you in a lot of ways. And if you're not aware, you can add also small plates to cable. So basically, cable or a machine, you can put the pin inside the weight stack and then put the plate on, or depending on, you know, the machine or whatever, you might be better off putting the pin through the small plate and then into the weight stack. But either way, it's going to be adding an extra 1.25 or 2.5, because you'll notice, guys, a lot of gyms have pretty big increases from one weight to the next. It might be 10 kilos, for example. My gym is actually like that. It goes from 60 kg, I think, to 70. And recently I put like a 2.5 kg plate onto the 60, and then I progress from there until I get to 70 a few weeks later, you know, rather than going from 60 to 70 and thinking, fucking hell, this is way too difficult. Okay, so number 4, tempo, time under tension. This is definitely something that isn't spoken about enough, and although it's not the be all and all, like I say here, it is important. Okay, following a 2 to 4 second negative on your movements will mean you're controlling the eccentric to at least some degree. It doesn't need to be dramatized, but having that composure over time will 100% benefit you. And in terms of progressive overload, there is something to be said for this. If you are rushing the speed of an exercise, then slowing that down, the negative, the following week, even if the weight and reps are equal, will mean the exercise is now more challenging, okay, which does mean it's progressively overloading on last week, okay, more mechanical tension. And you may even struggle to reach the same reps as the previous week. A lot of clients have sent me form clips and the tempo is quite off, it's too rushed, and then I'll say, okay, try and stick to this weight and reps, but slow that down, and the following week they'll send me another form clip and it's significantly harder. They might not get those reps, but at least going from then on, the progress will be more genuine because I know they're sticking to a set tempo. Even if it's 2 seconds, it's better than just 1, 1, 1, 1, you know? So 2 to 4 seconds is kind of depending on the exercise. For example, an RDL might be 4 seconds on the way down. You really want to feel those hamstrings lengthen. Okay, so yeah, to conclude this point, tempo does matter, as over time the progress made will be a lot more genuine. Okay, so in summary, aim to progress your lifts each week, even if it's by a small amount, okay, as this will carry over to visible changes in your physique. Take form clips, recover well, and remain consistent. Come back to this video if needed, okay, this is always here. Come back to it if needed. Not easy, but it is simple. Any questions, just drop me a message. So hope that was helpful, guys. I wanted to keep that as short as possible, but keep it concise, okay. There's a few points in there that really will matter when it comes to progressively overloading and building the physique that you want and getting the results that you desire. Okay, so thanks guys, I'll chat to you in the next one.